Oh, hello. We are going to do an analysis of homes that flooded, specifically in this area right here. Generally, it's these older homes in these three or four neighborhoods, and we'll talk about them as we go. I've pulled out, let's see, results. I've got 20 properties going back to the flood. The big flood for the properties in this area was Hurricane Helene, and we had 11 and a half feet of storm surge in Newport, Ritchey, that I can feel is fully documented. Some other areas might have gone deeper. Now, anyway, this home was listed in February of 24, which was before the storm, and it sold for $65,000. It was an auction. Actually, no, excuse me. This sold after the storm. The storm was in September of 2024, and this was April of 2025. So this was a home that did flood. Let's verify it. No, we can't tell from these pictures, but they were asking $95,000 and it sold for $65,000. And ultimately, this was the best deal in the market for any home in this criteria. So this was sold. It was asking $125,000. It sold for $85,000. This was shortly after the storm. This was November. So this was a recently flooded home, and it was beat up anyway by, I'm going to guess, tenants. And it was listed at $125,000. It sold for $85,000. This was put on the market in March of 2025. It sold in 15 days at full price of $89,999. And oh my goodness. Okay, so we can say the water was up to at least here. So if that's 4.5 feet, this house is probably 7.5 feet or something over sea level, but it sold in 3 days at full price. $95,000, sold for $90,000. This was listed in April of 2025 and sold in 38 days. They were asking $95,000. It sold for $90,000. And you can see this one was somewhat prepared. At least they cut the drywall. Listed at $125,000, sold for $90,000 in 125 days. They put it on the market before the flood, and they sold it 5-6 months after the flood. And they didn't update the pictures unless they home was flooded and drywall was removed. But it's not in these pictures. Unless they're in the back of the pictures. Yeah, this is catfishing. This is not how it looked if they cut the walls. Okay, Green Key, $100,000, sold for $90,000 in 1 day. Okay, so they cut the drywall. And we should pay attention to the year built 64, 720 square feet, sold for $90,000. Anclote River Heights, asking $95,000. This was canceled. So I'm sure there's a story. Okay, this is land only, asking $96,000. The house has been condemned, but this is 3 lots, or so they claim. This is temporarily off the market. $97,000. This is 1,100 square feet. This is only $87 a square foot. That's a really low number. Asking $125,000, sold for $103,000 in 0 days. Okay, so they cut the drywall here. 0 days is not very many. 1 day, they were asking $99,000. It sold over the asking price. Roof in 2021. So I'm sure this was a cash deal. Now it says conventional. Sold it. No, this had to be a cash deal. when they go over the asking price, I often think that somebody's paying somebody's closing fees, but I don't think that's what happened here. I think they probably had a round robin auction, and that's where it ended up. All right, this was canceled. 1,100 square feet. It was $93 a square foot. Oh, I researched this one. This guy. Oh, this had that pool. Yeah, this guy sold it off market for $110,000. And didn't go through the realtor. Wait a minute. This is the same house. You don't see that very often. No, it wasn't sold off market. It was sold with another realtor. 90,000 sold for 110. How about that? In October. $185,000 sold for 115 in 97 days. Man, this one has vaulted ceilings. Avery, listed at 120, sold for 120 in 2 days. Excuse me. This got a 2-car garage. Sold for $120,000. $55 a square foot. Wow, this may have been the best deal in the market because it's so big. And this was December, just 2 months after the storm, or 3 months after the storm. 180 sold for 120 in 27 days. 2 pictures. This sold in December of 2024, 3 months after the storm. $110 a square foot. It definitely flooded. Asking 94, sold for 125 in 6 days. Multiple offers. Seller is asking for highest and best by 10:30. Well, that may be the way to sell these. Listed at 90 and try to sell for 125. Above ground pool. Pavers in the back. Our happy place. Okay, well, how many square feet is this? 960 square feet. It sold for $130 a square foot. I think I have too many windows open. It's too slow. I just want to see where it is. Oh, okay. So that's actually in Port Ritchey. Most of these properties are in Newport, Richey. Yeah, I know exactly which house that is now that I see it. Yeah, this neighborhood is actually a little bit more attractive, this Davis sub. All right, Green Key Estates. Listed at 189, sold for 130. This sold in March. This sold 9 days ago. And this was post flood rehabbed. And it sold for 130. That's not good. Yeah, that's not good. If it's rehab, it sold for $158 a square, or no, $108 a square foot. They dropped it down $59,000 to accept this offer. I would never have done that. I would have gone to 160 and 140 before I took 130. That's crazy. All right, this is Bayou Vista. We haven't looked at one in that. Carport. Is this post rehab? Asking 164, sold for 140. Airbnb. Airbnbs are a real problem. If you don't know about Airbnbs, oh yeah, look at that. That's a great location. Yeah, Airbnbs have a little challenge. I don't want to give it away, but if you have an interest, you should reach out. Airbnb's challenge. Okay, 199 sold for 150 and $97 a square foot. This was 2 or 3 months after the storm. Home was hit with the flood. So the question is, what is the next criteria that we should look at to really get a handle on this market? Only one property for sale. Let's take the price out. So there's 5 properties for sale in this area that were built in this. Okay, let's change that. Let's go 1960 and earlier. There's 12 of them for sale in this area. Oh, look at the prices on them. It's crazy. Let's see the pendings. 6 pendings in this criteria. 87, 115, 175. Mallet is pending for 175. Wow, they really did polish this pit. This was 1950 frame house, virtually staged. Okay. It seems like a pretty high number. These must all be post rehab. Yeah, they are. These are all rehabbed. Interesting that we don't have. Let's do 1970 and earlier. There's 5 pending in that criteria. 110, 275. It can't be. 6 days on the market with no pictures. Full renovate. Does that mean we have to fully renovate it, or does it mean it's already been fully renovated? If it was fully renovated, they had to taken pictures. "16 properties for sale after 1970. Nothing in the flood property criteria, at least not based on the price." Let's go back. 510 days. 46 properties have sold. All right, we know the flood homes are going to be below 150, so let's look at those. 17 of them. Oh, now we're getting a different picture. Listed at 130, sold for 71, 3 months after the flood. Sold in 0 days, asking 75, sold for 75, flood damaged. 120, sold for 86. As is due to hurricane damage. Asking 115, sold for 87. This a year and 2 months after the flood. I surely don't think they cut that drywall. 3-2, sold for 87,000, $74 a square foot. 95, sold for 90. 105, sold for 95. 130, sold for 95. 120, sold for 105. 127, sold for 110. 125, sold for 115. I mean, this is, I think this is strong. $117, sold for over the asking price in 5 days. Why is this so attractive? You list it on one day when there's 5 investors that just happen to be looking, and they go highest and best. I looked at this one already on our level list. 180 sold for 120. 139 sold for 126. This went on the market 2 months after the flood, and they still got $107 a square foot. Berlin, 149 sold for 130. It's pretty low over there in Berlin. This is on the Port Ritchey side. Okay, here's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, giant house. How much is this? 1,500 square feet. Sold for 132,000. 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. Asking 153. Sold for 140. This is 1,300 square feet. So the square footage is a big deal. All right. All right, I'm Randy Jenkins. I'm going to try to wave goodbye. I don't know where my picture went. I don't know where the stop button went, but I'm going to stop this video.